Hello and welcome. I am the Lorefinder, and today I will guide you from Wild's End to Thronefast in one of the latest MMOs, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. Before we begin, I will go over just a few things that are necessary for the journey. But don't worry, they are few and far between, but each of them are quite important. Before you begin the journey, it is important to know that you can do this at any level, including level 1. As such, you will need at least a level 1 character. You will need about an hour's worth of time, presuming that you do not die. And lastly, you will need no small amount of patience. Patience will be very, very important, because if you do not use it, you will find yourself repeating this run over and over again. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's begin with the very start of the journey. Here we will find ourselves at the base of the tree in Wild's End at the bottom of the elevator. Quick flash of the character card to show you I am indeed at level 1, haven't even bothered to pick up the gathering quest, and we are off and away on the beginning of the journey. To begin this trek, you will head east along the base of the tree, over some stones, past some frogs, and across the river. From here, you'll be headed pretty much directly east with a little variance to northeast. Across another river and up a pair of hills, be sure to avoid anything that might aggro you. Lynx, daggertails, small spine crawlers, even the occasional runt will find itself into this area, so just be mindful. From here, it's important to be mindful of what is around you as you move. Move across the small ravine, dodging what you can and staying out of aggro range, which means staying behind things as much as possible up to the top of this ridge. From here, you'll be headed at a nearly true north position, veering just slightly east to keep you at the top of the ridge. Be careful not to go too close to the top or you'll risk aggroing whatever is up there. And don't go too far down or else you'll risk aggroing some of the goblins that are at the bottom of the hill. There may come points where simply the best move is to stop moving. Swivel your camera and be aware of what's around you. Once the path is clear, continue onwards and towards the water on the other side. As of the making of this video, the corrupted sprout bones are not kill on sight, but the feral skeletons are. Regardless, continue making your way towards the water in a north by northeast direction, and if you happen to aggro anything, just jump into the water and things will quickly lose the ability to attack you. Continue to swim almost directly north, aiming to cross a channel and for a small patch of ground that's at the base of a large rock face. Once you make land, continue west along the base of this mountain until you get to a slant of rock that will lead you further up the face. Here I will drop a location just in case you want to reach this by other means, or if you're a higher level or want to get creative with the pathing, but either way, this is how I choose to proceed. What you're seeing is a fairly practiced route, though if you're not careful and you jump in the wrong place, you'll end up bouncing yourself down the mountain, so be careful where you do and don't jump. Getting yourself to climb up this rock can be a little odd. Don't jump, just run to the top, put yourself against the rock, and start climbing. As you can see, not even I get it right all the time. Once you get towards the top, be careful not to go too far to the right, as we will be entering orc territory. From here, you'll see a number of dangerous mobs that will very readily kill you, so move carefully and check where you are going before you start moving. Try to follow this path exactly, as I rarely see anything dangerous that patrols along this path. Once again, be sure to follow this path as closely as possible, as just at the top of this ridge there's another orc waiting to clobber you. Move to this rock and then begin to edge northward, keeping an eye out for the camps and the patrols. Here you'll see me pause because of a patrol in the distance that normally isn't there, but is directly in the path of where we're headed. Once again, this area is incredibly dangerous, so be careful how you move and try to move as little as possible. To the left is a camp and to the right is a patrol that is usually stationary. And though I haven't seen this orc patrol in this particular pattern before, there's usually a raptor further on, or some other manner of dangerous creature that is blocking our path. Once you're sure the path is clear, head pretty much directly northeast. You're headed for this sloped section in front of us that will take you up to another rock face. Once you get there, you're past the hardest part of Wild's End. I mentioned before a need for patience. Sometimes that comes in the form of waiting for your stamina to recover. Don't be afraid to take in the scenery as you travel. This game has a lot to see, and a lot of it is beautiful, even if it's incredibly dangerous. Once you reach this section, you're pretty much home free for getting out of Wild's End. Just follow this cliff all the way out until you leave the zone. As you approach this section, you'll see that there's an orc camp to the left. Just don't be nervous, move past it, and you'll soon enter a small load zone that will take you to the Eastern Plains. Granted, this isn't the real entrance to the Eastern Plains, but at the very least despawns the mobs in that orc camp and allows you to pass by safely. Continue to follow the cliff face to the west. Ahead, you'll hit another short loading zone, which will put you back into Wild's End, but you'll be clear of the orc camp. Keep following the cliff face, and be mindful of the things to your left as you come around the next bend. And just like that, this is the end of Wild's End. From here, you are entering the Eastern Plains, which is incredibly beautiful, but also incredibly dangerous. For the first good stretch, there's no enemies to worry about, but that will quickly change. As you approach this crossroads, be sure to keep your eyes left and right for patrolling monsters. On the left, you'll see a lynx and a placeholder model for a wolf, and on the right in the distance, you'll see another lynx. Just be careful, be calm, move right on through, and go up to the first ridge that's ahead of you before turning to your left and heading to the west. This pass that you're approaching can be a little nerve-wracking as there's going to be mobs on both your left and your right as you try to pass through. On the lower side, there's going to be a dense collection of models and barbarians, while the top will have more wolves and more barbarians, so try to keep somewhere in the middle. As of this recording, the worms are not kill on sight, despite the fact that they look terrifying. Just keep your nerve, stick to the middle of the ridge, and move to the west. Try to keep along this cliff face as you move to the north. Move slowly and peek over hills as there are lynx and wolves all in this area. Sticking close to the wall is generally safe. Although there is no marker to indicate it, I am aiming for this large tree that's right in front of me. Although there are currently lynx in my way, I find a way around them, carefully and patiently moving through them. But the general direction that you're headed is directly north, or as north as you can get. Once you're past those initial links, I haven't actually found many hostile creatures in this next little stretch. Though as I cross over this ridge, I'm still careful to look left and right, and careful for the top of hills, as you never know what's creeping around. Don't be afraid to move cautiously. This rock here is what I consider to be a safe location, and you'll see me drop another location in case you need to find your way here. If you want to wait out a nighttime, the top of this rock is a good place to do so. But presuming you're continuing to move around the rock and continue in a northwardly direction. Once you see the tents to your left, you can begin to head almost directly north. However, this part can be particularly dangerous, so be sure to pay attention. Here you can see that I see a model through the trees. And the problem with these stand-in models is you don't know which way they're looking, which means you want to be extra careful and wait for them to be pathing away from each other. It normally doesn't take this long, but you'll see me exercise a great amount of caution as I'm not sure which way they're looking. Patience is key, because if you can get past this part, you're pretty much home free, at least through the most dangerous sections of the Eastern Vale. Moving too quickly or without patience is a sure way to be starting back over from Wild's End, and at this point, it is not worth it. Just sit and wait. Once you see them heading away from each other, sprint past into this water. If you happen to aggro something and you save your sprint, once again you can find safety in the water as they won't be able to attack you. As we cross this big lake and towards this slope, I would like to take a moment to thank you for watching my video. I hope that this is the first in many videos related to Pantheon and the exploration of the world therein. This video was inspired by another YouTube creator named Hexnotic, whose tutorial to run from Wild's End to Thronefast was the inspiration behind my own exploration. Their channel will be linked in the description below, so be sure to go show them some love as well. Once you hit the shoreline, try to stay as close to the water as you can while heading up the slope, as there's a number of wolves waiting to devour you at the bottom. If ever there was a reason I could give you for going out and exploring the world, it is this next example. I've never actually seen a treasure chest in this spot before, and all the times I've made this run, and finding it here was no small shock, though I was ready to collect my goods and be along my way. Head northwards and beware the grizzly bears that spawn in this area, though honestly you won't be here for very long. So if you get aggro, even if you can't see what's coming, there's a load zone, so just sprint straight ahead to the north. From here you'll load into AVP, and thankfully it'll be a mobless instance, at least where you currently are. Unfortunately, you'll soon hit an invisible wall. However, this won't deter us much as we just turn to the west and continue onwards for some time, keeping one shoulder on the wall. Don't stray too far because you might instance back into Eastern Plains in the middle of a bunch of bears. So just keep a shoulder to the wall and head to the west. Once you get to this cliff face, head southwards along the ridge until you zone back out. Be advised, however, that some of the rocks on the edge of this cliff are fake, and you may fall through them and die. Once you zone back out, you may be amidst a bunch of bears, so just be mindful of where you are, and if you get aggro, turn around and run back into the zone. Continue to the south until you can head west up this ridge. There shouldn't be anything around, but like always, be mindful. What you'll see here is a number of lanterns along a road, as well as a set of stairs that lead to a place that I call the Abandoned Village. While this marks the halfway point of the journey, it holds something much more important than just a symbol. It holds a Bindstone. Here you can save your progress, and if you die in the future, this is where you'll return. I call this the Abandoned Village because there's currently nothing occupying it, and even binding to the stone, you will receive a strange message, as if this place is trying to test you. Whatever it means, I won't be covering what's in the village in this video, and I encourage you to explore it yourself. For now, I'm not interested in meeting the same fate as those that used to live here, so I'm instead going to head west to our next destination. Keep along this path and head towards the house at the top of the hill, where you'll hit a brief loading zone. Head through the house and continue to the other side, and between a pair of benches and up a hill where you'll quickly hit another invisible wall. As before, put your right shoulder on it and continue to the south. You'll follow along the top of this cliffside, and you'll see a world seam where you can then turn to the right and head more to the west, keeping yourself against the invisible wall. Jump up on the rock and keep yourself to the right. Falling off to the left is going to cost you a lot of backtracking and potentially a death. And while the death doesn't mean much considering we just got the Bindstone, it's still best to avoid. Head down the hill, continuing to the west, and you'll hit a series of loading zones. This will allow you to bypass the silent plains and get right to AVP much faster. At the end of this cliff is a small drop that looks menacing, but you'll survive. I promise. From here, continue on to the west until you hit the base of the valley, then turn to the north. You'll bypass a few rocky outcroppings and you'll enter a field that has no mobs in it. From here, you want to head directly towards the largest tree as you're aiming just past it. Zoning into AVP, you'll head between these two trees on the edge of the cliff. You'll be looking for a crack in the rock, and this is where things get a little tricky. You'll see shortly that I drop another location, just so you can make sure that you're in the right spot, and now we are going to engage in a little controlled falling. For this, I highly recommend you do so going backwards and tapping your S key until you fall. This will allow you to catch the cliff face if you accidentally go too far. Continue to drop from ledge to ledge, and if you catch something, don't worry about letting go or climb down if you're nervous. Don't be afraid to go slow. Even if you die, the bind point isn't far away. and if you go slowly, it's not as menacing as it looks. This ledge is the lowest point you'll have to climb to. From here, you can actually just run off and you'll live with just enough HP to survive. But if you're feeling nervous, do what I'm doing here and just climb down the edge of the cliff until you run out of stamina. You'll fall, but you'll live. And just like that, you are nearly home. Now comes a very, very long run. Once you see this lake, you'll know that you're getting close to the very last leg of the trip. Just jump in and swim to the other side. If you need to take a rest, if it's nighttime, or if you need to AFK, the island doesn't actually have anything that spawns on it as of the making of this video, so feel free to make use of it as a rest spot. Once you're on shore, be careful for the roaming wizards that are just over the top of this hill. Sometimes there might be spiders, and sometimes there might be bears, but if you see the balls out in the field, you'll know that you're going the right way. What these wizards want with these balls and what sort of dark magic it offers them, I have no idea, but I'm not really interested in sticking around to find out. Head directly east across the field, being sure to avoid the spiders and bears. You're headed for this cliffside that you see ahead of me, as that will be our guide for the rest of the journey. As a brief note, this part is particularly dangerous at night because the spiders are very hard to see. So I would highly recommend waiting to do this in the daylight or switching to a server that has daytime for this part. Keep the cliff to your left and continue to the east. There's a small pass here where you will bypass a number of friendly NPC ghosts. Or at the very least, they're indifferent, which is good enough for us to make the trip. Just outside of this village is almost always a wolf that is against the cliffside. Don't be afraid to head a little further in, and just be mindful of where you're moving, but continue to the east. Follow along this ridgeline, but don't go all the way up, as there is a dark agent that is waiting to make your entire run a mess. Instead, keep just barely along the ridge, as he won't aggro you as long as you don't look him directly in the eye. Below is a bunch of spiders, wolves, and bears, but don't worry. If you fall, just go back the way you came and try again. Do not go forward. You will aggro something. There's no need to follow the cliff so closely, as if you can get past this next line of mobs, which is going to be diamond head vipers or lynx or bears, you're pretty much home. So just go slow, be mindful of what's in front of you, and go around anything dangerous. Ahead of you, you'll see a lamppost on a road. This is your sign of freedom, as if you make it here, the run is essentially over. As you'll see shortly, I'll show you the Bindstone to Demith village, and from there, there's almost nothing that will stop you from getting to Thronefast. From here, you're pretty much home free. There's nothing really that will stop you from getting to Thronefast, and anyone that's explored AVP a little bit probably knows how to get to Demith, but just in case you don't, I will continue to speed through the footage until we get to Availia. I'll also use this opportunity to talk a little about the game. As there's no real instructions left, feel free to click off now, and if you've made it, welcome. For those of you that stick around, this video was made just as a patch was dropped that would allow people to port from Wild's End to Availia, or vice versa. From my understanding, it takes a fairly high-level wizard to do so, and sometimes these wizards like to charge an exuberant amount, such as a gold or 50 silver per person in order to teleport. That is unreasonable for a first-level character, especially if you're just trying to get to play with your friends. As such, I've decided to continue with making this video anyway. That way, if you want to experience a sense of adventure and get to your friends faster than it would take you to get at least 50 silver, I figured there would be a way available. As has been demonstrated in this video, there's plenty to explore and the world is incredibly massive. The creators of this game have done a great job of giving back that sense of adventure that a lot of MMOs just don't have anymore. You'll have flight paths, you'll have mounts at early levels, you'll have capital cities, you'll have things that make the sense of adventure obsolete. You don't need to go anywhere or do anything. You can queue for a dungeon while sitting next to an auction house and playing with the market. You can essentially play the game all without ever moving your character. And Pantheon has done a good job of kind of reversing that trend. There's worlds to explore, there's treasure to find, dungeons that have yet to be implemented, reagents that drop from mobs you've never seen before. I mean, the entire provisioning profession is based on experimentation. This game begs you to go out and explore it. So even if you, in the far future, are watching this video and there's a more convenient way to get from point A to point B, don't be afraid to be the guy that makes a level 1 character and just tries to make a run for the fun of it. But with that being said, this video is already long enough, so I won't hold you any longer. Good luck, have fun, and thanks again for watching.